It's the start of a new month and the start of a new episode of PHLY Phillies podcast. As we've been talking off season, giving out grades. Welcome in, guys. Happy to have you here. Sorry for the delay. Technology just doesn't want us to be great and has been impacting us. But nonetheless, we're ready to get this show on the road. Renee Washington, Jamie Lynch, Tyler Zulli, and special guests with us in studio today. We've got Phil Nappen of Philthy and Philly, who does a tremendous job covering all things Philly sports. Phil, pleasure to have you here on the show with us.
Oh, it's been a great time, and thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Of course. Well, guys, we've already had time as the week kicked off on Monday to start grading every individual player's performance this season, starting with starting pitchers. Then we got into the infield, and today it's time for the bullpen. But I feel like before we get into that, I know, Jamie, this is a sore subject, and I hate to go from a positive to but the World Series. Right now, looking at the World Series, not that fun to watch for the Phillies fans as we are still licking our wounds, but Texas Rangers up 3-1. Commanding victories, their last couple victories over the Diamondbacks. It's been a very lopsided series because even the Diamondbacks win was
an incredibly shitty series, Renee, is what it is, because the Diamondbacks are frauds, and it makes it so much worse. I wasn't able to watch games 1 and 2 emotionally. I just wasn't ready for it yet. And Phil, we're kind of like closing out this week, like licking our wounds before we move on to the future talk. But like part of these wounds keep reopening when I see the Rangers blowing out the Diamondbacks 10-1, and and they got late runs last night, so it was a different score. But like it wasn't really a ball game. Look, the Diamondbacks they're not the worst team. They're fine. But I watch them in the World Series now, and I still cannot believe we lost to that team.
Yeah.
It's just, game 1 set like the lowest numbers ever for baseball in the World Series in like 20 years or something. It's not going to be a well-rated series. It's not a fun series to watch. Texas is making roadkill out of them. And I just watched this Diamondbacks team, and Phil and I said before the show, like, tonight's supposed to be game 5 in Philly.
Yeah.
We should be going down on the subway to the lots in a little bit.
We would have split in Texas, and it would have been game 5. When we scheduled this, I was like, yes. We were tailgating. I think it was the NLDS.
Yes. Yes.
But it should be the World Series. It should be game 5 in Philly now, baby.
Yeah. It's just really kind of painful to watch. And I haven't enjoyed myself one bit. I've hated it about 10 times more than I thought I was going to. I thought I was just going to kind of watch it like white noise in the background. Mm-hmm. And then, and then you start thinking like, you got Christian Walker in a series versus the Phillies where he can't do anything.
Yeah.
And you still couldn't beat them. It just sucks. Like,
there's no other way to say it. It's wild because game 1 was actually the best game in terms of back and forth walk-off. It was the most exciting of the games. The rest of the games have been completely boring to watch. Yeah, Mickey's saying he just puked in his mouth. It's been rough. It's been really rough to watch because it's all the things that it could have been and should have been of a nice Phillies Rangers World Series. It would have been, as we all know, we're going to talk about coming back to game 5 today. Ugh. We would all be excited. We'd be talking pregame.
Yeah,
but here we are.
Parade.
Here we are. Instead, we're talking about grades. Exactly. So it is frustrating, and I do think what makes it worse is how annoyingly boring this World Series has been. Like, this is it. This is the end of the season. This is how the 2023 season is coming to an end with very lopsided, boring games and questionable. I know you're going to get into the umps,
I'll get
Jamie.
into the robot umps because, like, God, can the umpires just make a baseball game not about themselves just one time?
Well, they're saying it's boring, I guess, so they're trying to figure out a way to spice things up. I'm going to add a little flavor in there and make some awful calls.
Yeah, and, like, the part of it that sucks, and I'll see if Phil agrees with me, like, the Diamondbacks, I think, are kind of fraudulent as a World Series team. But the other part of this is, like, the Rangers look very beatable to me.
Yeah.
Like Max Scherzer would have gotten. I know Texas is 9-0 on the road. No, 10-0 now after last night.
Yes.
Max Scherzer would have gotten his doors blown off in Citizens Bank Park. So you have a fraud team on one hand, and then you have a team that's good beating up the fraud team. But I fully think the Phillies could have beaten the Rangers. And now all offseason, I'm just going to be thinking about Brandon Pfaadt and that stupid chase rate that the Phillies had, chasing every bad pitch low and away.
Yeah, going into this, it didn't really matter who we faced in the World Series. If we had remained undefeated at home, we had this feeling a few weeks ago, hey, it doesn't matter who we play. We're going to get there, and we're going to get it done this year finally.
Yeah.
And it was just a major disappointment, and
Yeah.
we're here. And we still get to talk Phillies baseball and where we're going to go moving forward, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, now watching the World Series play out, we all knew this, but it's really a slap in the face that this was the year the Phillies should have won. And had they gotten through game 6 or 7 and were able to clinch out in the NLCS and they get themselves into the World Series, it's a winnable series. Because I agree. I feel like looking at the Astros-Rangers series compared to the Rangers-Diamondbacks, it's a totally different Texas team. And that's what makes it even worse, knowing that we should be talking like Eugene Krabs is saying, I think in the chat, or I'm sorry, Mickey again, we should be singing, wearing overalls, cheersing, like we should be excited right now. We should be talking game 5, and we should be talking about the Phillies on their way to, a World Series, a championship. And here we are instead talking offseason. So that's also, in my opinion, what makes it worse, because if Texas came in and was just completely playing fantastic and stuff, that's one thing. But you look at these games and like, dang, the Phillies, Kyle could have hit that. Price would have did this. And Zach would have been able to strike them out. Like,
And Dave in the chat says calling either of them a fraud isn't fair. I don't think the Rangers are a fraud at all. He said, the Phillies were the last wild card team last year, and we would have been offended if somebody called the Phillies frauds. Fair point, but the Phillies were a better built team than the Diamondbacks. So, like, when they caught fire, that was, to me, baseball kind of magic, and the team got hot at the right time. The Diamondbacks, to me, like, Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll are awesome.
Yeah.
Outside of that, like, Perdomo's solid, Gurriel's solid, but it's just like, I don't know. They don't look like a World Series team to me.
84 wins.
84 wins, a negative run differential. And now, what's something that was really chapping my ass is Corey Seager is having a great World Series.
Yeah.
Why are they pitching to him? Yet everybody on the Phillies they threw slop to, and the Phillies couldn't lay off of it. So they're pitching to Seager. He's not having a problem. They're not icing him out of games like they did to Bryce Harper. So that's pissing me off. Basically, every aspect of this World Series is pissing me off.
They had to bench people, lineup tinker, do all these things to scrap, move runners over, because our lineup and our roster was simply better. They had to do all these things and scratch and claw, but credit to them, I guess.
Yeah, Dave says, bottom line, we choked.
Bingo.
Oh, yeah, we choked. Big time.
That's it. And
that sucks.
That's what also makes it worse. It's like I said before, and have continued to say, it wasn't about what the Diamondbacks did so well. It was more about what the Phillies did not do well. And it felt like every game that the Phillies lost in that NLCS was the Phillies should have done this. The Phillies could have done. It was never a matter of, even with Marte having a hitting streak and Corbin Carroll actually struggled in the first 6 games and having a tremendous game 7. Perdomo playing out of his mind. They all had World Series types performances against the Phillies. But despite all that, it still was always a matter of the Phillies were the ones that choked. The Phillies were the ones that dropped the ball. Not really about the Diamondbacks came out and were the better team as much as it was the Phillies just did not play the way they should have and could have. So it is very frustrating. And I know it will not get easier, especially as we're nearing, Texas now 1 win away from winning the World Series. That also makes it worse because, again, you're thinking that should have been us. That should be us celebrating and having parades and having watch parties, but we're not there. So, guys, we unfortunately still can talk about the Phillies just in a different way and still can also buy some merchandise, of course. It's not the same. We're not rocking overalls to be able to go out to the ballpark, but we can rock overalls for next season. Foco is the place where you can use that code PHLY, get 10% off. And as we're getting ready for the next season, but also looking at all the other teams that we're supporting, there's plenty. Exactly. Yeah. I was going to say, we've got the Eagles are getting ready to beat up on the Cowboys. We've got the Flyers winning. The Sixers are making big deals and finally got rid of James Harden. There's lots to celebrate in Philly. So you can go over to Foco, buy some merchandise, use that code PHLY, get 10% off, and have collectibles, apparel, merchandise, whatever it is you want to support our squads and your favorite teams. Now, I know there's been a lot in the chat. Phil, you did get some comments on the beard. By no surprise, it was Eugene Krabs. Eugene Krabs is one of our regular guest that always brings a little bit of
Connor.
everything. I wasn't gonna say
that's
it.
good. He's a regular. I thought he was just trolling the beard, but I'm working hard. I got a wedding this weekend, and I was coming to see you guys, so I got to get dolled up.
Kept it on
you got
point.
dolled up. Beard game on point. He said you're very handsome, no homo. And then also some other things you guys are talking about. Corbin became Mahomes in Game 7. The World Series is the worst. We know, guys. Continue to drop how you're feeling in the chat. This is a safe space. Vent, get it all out, however you're feeling. We do, though, have to get into grading because we've been heavily grading the Phillies player by player. The criteria in my book has been a little different from Miss Honey over here. And do you know the Miss Honey reference? Do you know that?
No, tell me about this.
I don't think most little boys read Matilda.
Tyler, although Tyler didn't know Miss Honey either.
I know Miss Honey.
From Matilda.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so we're grading. So we started putting our teacher hat on. And Jamie is like Miss Honey over here from Matilda. And he's always sprinkling in the most sweet, fluffy grades for everybody. Yeah, I'm a little bit more harsh. So we'll see where you fall in with this. Tyler's pretty back and forth. He's pretty consistent, though. So today we're going to get into the bullpen and give grades out. Performance, statistics, it's all season, regular season, postseason, a lot to grade. So let's jump right in from the very beginning. Should we start at the top with...
Now let's start with the meaningless guys and make our way. Let's build the excitement because I want to see where people fall on Kimbrel.
All right. I was gonna start at the top with Craig, but yeah, I think we should start. Let's start down and work our way up.
Because I want to see the vitriol come in the comment section. Somebody already said I'm gonna be like Jamie with his Garrett Stubbs grade. So I would imagine that's an F. Yeah. Because Garrett Stubbs.
But we are gonna get there. We will get to Craig, Jose, Jeff. Let's start at the bottom. Let's jump out the gate with Nick Nelson.
Nick Nelson. What can I say about Nick Nelson? He was fine, harmless. I think they went to him a little bit too much early on in the season in big spots, but I give him a D+. They moved on from him. He ate some innings early in the year for you. Overall, every time he came in, I was petrified. D+. Who cares?
Okay. What about you, Phil?
Yeah, I'm right with you. I'm going to give him a D-. He played in April when the team wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And we didn't see much from him after that.
Yeah, so I don't need to ever see Nick Nelson again, I think is where we fall in here.
Tyler, are you in the D spot? Yeah, everyone's like, who?
He pitched once. He started one game against the Yankees back in April, and we didn't see him again. And he was good in that start. He went 5 1/3. He gave up an earned run, and they got more than they could have asked from him because of the fact that he was probably not going to be a major league pitcher for most of the season.
Mickey Durkin said, who?
On one start, based on one start's worth of numbers against the Yankees team that was supposed to be good this year, I mean, it's a C, but who?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I gave Nick Nelson a D because he was there. He was there with a D. I'm going to say there with a D. But that was it. I mean, he was like you talk about in that one game, 3 strikeouts, 2 hits, 1 run. But I mean, it's all who. I don't even know. I think Jamie put Nick in there because Jamie just wanted to make sure we talked about every single person and also remind you guys. This is also a great reminder for you guys as we are frustrated at this moment of just how much the Phillies have changed and different names that have come in through the clubhouse over the course of the season.
Like I forgot Cody Clemens played in 49 games.
Exactly.
So baseball's a long season.
Let's go back. I know Covey was mentioned. Let's go to Dylan. Phil, I'll start with you first on this one, actually.
My friends and I have this club. It's called the Meatball Boys.
Oh, boy.
Dylan Covey is a meatball boy. I'm going to give him a D+.
I'm right there with you.
A little bit.
I guess he's definitely a meatball boy because he was serving them up this year. D+. Yeah, Dylan Covey, sayonara.
Yeah, it's a present. I like that, actually. There's no Tyler, there's only Zuli. That's a good one. No actual grade. He just
Promise
got
you,
present.
That's not me.
Present.
Present for being there. He's technically marked in attendance. But yeah, I gave him also a D. I don't really have much to go off of. It's the kid that comes to the first day of school and then their parents move and you never see them again.
Yeah, most of these irrelevant guys are going to be in this D range because they're all people that I care to not see in Phillies uniforms anymore.
Yeah. Well, 30 strikeouts in games. I mean, Tyler, I'll let you go. Tyler, there is Tyler and Zuli. What's your grade?
Yeah, he's an innings eater, right? He's the guy that Rob Thompson turned to when the Phillies were getting beat badly, or getting beat in general. Like, I'm looking at some of the game logs from Dylan Covey this season, and it's loss, loss, 19-4 win. So, like, the point is 13-2 win. The point is he was your mop-up duty guy in both directions. Posted a 3.6 ERA. I mean, listen, I don't think Dylan Covey is a Major League Baseball pitcher, but I do think that he is serviceable for somebody that needs innings to be eaten. So, again, it's another guy with a C grade just because it was an average season. I thought that he probably got used in leverage situations that he didn't need to be used in, but he was better than I expected him to be when they got him for nothing from the Dodgers in May. So,
yeah,
is a grade?
Present.
Well, Night Train saying a D- because your F key is stuck. Justin also saying a D-. I know earlier I saw, first of all, again, Jason was saying, glad the beard is back, Phil. Getting a lot of beard comments. But Mickey saying Dylan Covey's a bagster. Yeah. We will get to Orion. Don't worry, Marcia and Lynch. You're jumping ahead here. Eugene Krabs. Yes. So many D's. Okay, good Lord. All right. Let's go. Let's keep
By the
on
way,
with this
Marcia
trail.
Lynch points out, it is weird that we have a Covey receiver and a Covey.
I know.
Any relation to Britton Covey?
Yeah,
I know.
What are the odds? I've
And
never heard of a Covey before in my life, and we have 2 of them here in Philadelphia.
I was going to say, it's definitely not a popular name to be in the same city.
Yeah, pretty weird. That's all.
Very, very weird. Let's go to Connor Brogdon.
I gave him a D+. I had big hopes for Connor Brogdon when we first saw him like 2 years ago. I thought he looked the part. He threw a little bit of gas. He hasn't really put it together yet. So, I just came in at a D+ there.
He's a guy that I kind of never want on my team. We won some games early in the season. He's a good-looking guy, but that's all about it. He looks the part, but he can't play.
Yeah.
D- I gave him.
Oh, wow. All right. Yeah, we're all right there.
I don't remember what I gave him actually. Oh, I gave him a D. I was just very consistent today with D's across the board. That's it. I mean, I will not give an F because I feel like, or did I give an F? I may have given an F. I will not give them an F because I feel like you didn't fully fail, but yeah, you're looking at a guy that, much like the others, was just kind of there. 26 strikeouts this season. Gave up 29 hits, 14 runs.
More hits than strikeouts?
Nah, it's a D. It's a D. Yeah.
Another D.
Another D,
Krabs
guys.
Sounds like a sausage fest.
Tyler, who Eugene Krabs says Major League Baseball needs to hire you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Stats guy.
Connor Brogdon was one of the guys that I agree with you, Jamie. I had a lot of high hopes for because, I don't know, maybe because I saw a little bit of me in him, except for the fact that he threw 96 and I threw 66. But it was a guy with a long stride that's on top of you by the time he gets down the mound. Should find success, and you guys talked about it. The whip was up, the hits were up, the command was the big issue. He never had command of the changeup that was so filthy in the postseason last year. I think this guy has purpose for this Phillies team. I just don't know when it's going to happen with the fact that they've brought a lot of arms in. I think they bring a couple more in this offseason as well. It's probably an F for me. I thought I'm wildly because with the other two guys, they were just like whatevers. Like Connor Brogdon was a guy that I had anticipation and hope for.
Mickey Durkin just said in the chat, and I think I agree with him. I thought he was going to be like a Ryan Madsen-ish piece, like he was in 2008. I think they kind of looked similar. So anyway.
Yeah. I know. Can you scroll up a little bit? Yeah. There's no Tyler, there's only Zuli. You're saying so many D's. I feel like I'm going to not safe for work website. Unfortunately, this is actually a very appropriate version of PHLY Phillies podcast because sometimes you guys get a little bit wonky in the chat and things get a little out of control. But I think we may start to move out of the D's and F's. I think it might be time. I saw a little meme.
Hold on. Pause. Where are you going with that one, Tyler?
You did casually say that, Tyler.
At least take him out for a nice seafood dinner first.
Yeah, you let it slip.
Are built the same way.
Tall,
lanky, no muscle build.
Saw a little me and him. Alrighty then. Well, I think we're going to slowly start to move out of the D's, possibly. Let's go to Junior Marte. There's Ketel Marte. We've got our own Marte. We had a Marte. We had a Marte on the roster before he was optioned down to AAA to join the Lehigh Valley. Oh, are we still in the D category here, guys? Is anybody?
I'll kick it off with
higher?
a C-.
Okay, we've got C's.
That's probably generous.
I'll give him a C. He was up and down, bounced around. He got a few wins, I think, in July, which said a lot more about our April guys. But so I'll give him a C for that. We'll get out of the D range.
I'm still there. I'm still in the D's. I gave him a D plus though. I'm crawling out of the D's.
All right.
I definitely. I heard it as soon as I said it. I'm so sorry. I legitimately did not mean that.
No comment.
It's fine. You know what? I'm just gonna toss that to Tyler because there's no coming back from that one. Tyler, you've got it.
Sometimes you get a relief pitcher whose numbers don't dictate the season that he had, and I think Junior Marte had a little bit of that type of season where if you look at the 5 ERA, like if you're just box score watching, you're gonna go the WHIP's too high, the ERA's too high. The walks are clearly concerning. It's now 39 walks over the course of 70-something innings pitched over his career. But this is a guy with good stuff. It's a high strikeout rate. He's about a strikeout per inning pitched. I expect him to get a little bit better. I don't think he's going to ever be a 3-2 guy, but if you can make him like a 3-9, 4 flat type of guy, you've got yourself a low leverage arm once Gregory Soto is gone, or once whomever maybe next is gone out of this bullpen. Statistically speaking, it wasn't a good year. It's a D season, but I have expectations for Marte moving forward.
Yeah, people in the chat seem to kind of agree with us in that general like D plus C minus range. Yeah. So as we're giving our grades, please chat, throw in yours as we're going along here, and make sure you're hitting that like button on the YouTube page for us. But yeah, I think we're all kind of in the same neighborhood here, commenters and us all alike.
You should definitely contribute moving forward, but this year,
yeah, you have those expectations and hopes for sure. Well, let's keep moving this train along.
I think it gets better from here on out.
I hope.
And we have graphics from here on out, so it looks even better.
Do we though on Andrew Bellotti?
No,
not.
I didn't think so. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. We got one more, and then I think we're rolling forward. Tyler, do you want to start with Bellotti? What you got?
Yeah, Bellotti, another guy just like Brogdon, who was used in a lot of higher leverage situations last year, and then kind of got exiled to the minor leagues after the injury early in the season. Relievers are weird. Like I thought Bellotti was really good last year, and this season in his limited time with the major league club, he wasn't good, right? Last year, 3.3. This year, 5.1. Relief pitchers are weird. Like season to season, things can change in a heartbeat.
Because ask Brad Lidge about that.
It's just a crazy thing where, like, if your control's not there, you're going to struggle, right? 25 walks last year in 54 innings. He had 12 in 24, which means he's walking a hitter every 2 innings, which as a relief pitcher is just not going to work for you. His strikeouts per 9 were down. His home runs per 9 were up. His hits per 9 were up. And because of that, his whip was up. Bellotti was a weird year, and Bellotti is kind of a weird arm to talk about. I think that, to me, he was another guy like Brogdon where I had high expectations. He gets a D as well.
Okay.
I like the word exiled because he was one of my favorites in 22, but we're talking about 23, so
yeah,
C minus ish.
Yeah, I wrote down a B minus last night, and I think that was the bourbon talking.
Wow,
I'd probably be more in that CC
Miss Honey mode.
Yeah, CC plus range. I think Topper was going to him in like every early situation this year. He's hopefully another guy that can bounce back next year. You've seen some stuff from him in the past, but this was not his year.
Yeah, I'm with Eugene Krabs. I gave him a C, 13.5 base runners per 9 innings. But also, as you talking about, Tyler, across the 24 and 2/3 innings pitched, 25 strikeouts, 150 whip, but over a 5 ERA. As you were talking about, Tyler, that was the exact same reason for me. It's just not acceptable. Bellotti, he's Italian. It ends there. It makes you think of gelati, actually. So that also made me want to go a little bit higher and give him maybe a C plus. But I stayed with a C because I'm no Miss Honey. I don't judge with my heart. I judge with my statistics and my analyst's hat. All right, well, let's keep this analyst hat and our grades moving along. You guys keep dropping in the chat. Now, I think you're going to definitely have a little bit more to add to for these next guys as we're moving along. Sir Anthony Dominguez. Ooh. Phil, we made eye contact, so I'm going with you.
Going with me. I think I'm going to judge him on most recent bias. He's one of our more reliable guys. He battled some injury this year, too. So it's a tough way to go, battling injury. So I'm going to give him a B minus.
Ooh.
I went with C plus. He did come around late, and that was very, very encouraging to see for next year. I think he started hitting that 99, 100 miles an hour again into the playoffs and looked like he was throwing gas again. I like Sir Anthony a lot. I think he's got 8th and 9th inning swing and miss stuff. The problem is I think he found a lot of bats this year when he wasn't getting his swing and misses. So, I gave him that. It was the second highest ERA of his career. He had let up a career high in hits, career high in home runs. He allowed with 7. But I do think a lot of that was tied to the injury that he kind of worked out of. And, it wasn't the same when he came right back. But it was a down year for Sir Anthony, which makes me feel good about next year and the way he ended this year.
Yeah, I actually also gave him a C+. I do feel that he had such an up and down season with injuries not being 100%. But I'm still judging based on the fact that I don't think he was ever fully able to respond. And then in the postseason, that's what actually swung me to a C+, because I liked what he did in the postseason. We were cringing at the thought of Dominguez taking the mound in the postseason. And in the playoffs, he gave up just 1 run this playoffs round and 7 strikeouts in the 5 1/3 innings pitched after having a very difficult regular season. So I feel like he bounced back and answered nicely come postseason time to just be decent. So I'm going to give him a C+. I think he was just a little bit above average, and I'm hoping that with a nice, healthy season, if he's able to be healthy, that moves up a little bit higher. Tyler?
The return of the graphics. It's back.
They're back.
Now we can finally appreciate them. Jamie, you mentioned that he has 8th and 9th inning stuff, which I agree with. I think the problem this year was he had 5th and 6th inning mentality.
Found a lot of bats.
A lot of bats. And quite honestly, I thought the command was poor for most of the season. The swing and miss stuff is there, but don't get me wrong.
But the consistency wasn't.
Yeah, I still have a lot of high hopes for Sir Anthony Dominguez out of this bullpen. But as you can see, career high in walks, earned runs, hits, hit by pitches, worst statistical year for opponents' batting average, opponents' OBP, which leads to slugging, home run percentage. And, I threw WAR in there because I'm a nerd and I like that kind of stuff.
I like WAR too.
But this was just a really bad statistical year for Sir Anthony Dominguez, and if you look at it and you go, wait, 3.78, is that really statistically bad? I just think that
for him, yes.
The fact that you couldn't use him in leverage spots as much as you had wanted to is concerning. I give him a C because statistically he's actually, the ERA is better than you think, but I think that he needs to clear up some stuff, get the swing and miss stuff back, and find his command again.
Yeah, I agree with you. I along with Night Train, I was going to give him like a C- D+, but postseason really helped sway me. The end of the regular season was scary for Sir Anthony.
Sure.
Terrifying. And so that's where, we're talking about the whole season, but he did at least end on a higher note. But as you mentioned, statistically it was okay. But as we were watching in terms of when he was falling, when he was dropping off, not at the right points of the season.
Well, Renee, you know what's not terrifying? The Game Time app. And right now, if you use code PHLY on the Game Time app, I just made another purchase on Game Time last night. Shout out Game Time.
Taking all your money, honey.
Yeah, they're taking all my money. But use that code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Buying tickets should not be stressful, and Game Time's got you covered. For all your favorite concerts, sports, theater, comedians, whatever you want, Game Time's got you covered. I've now used it for a concert and a stand-up comic. And Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for whatever you're looking for in your area. And the best part was I'm going to a stand-up comedian on Saturday. For that, you want a good view, a good seat angle. And Game Time has the seat view option right there in the app. They got flash deals, last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy your favorite tickets for every event. The seat view image is absolutely awesome. So forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. You can get exclusive flash deals on all your sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you're looking for. It's the fastest-growing ticket app in the country for a reason. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your emails. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, just create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off.
Well, Justin Harris, we are with you. It is frustrating that we have to right now talk about giving out grades for the Phillies instead of talking about the World Series. But we do have And I actually didn't pick up on this MBDBDBF. You are giving Zach Berman with the beard vibes a little bit. I see
That's
that.
my guy. That's my guy.
I could see that. I could totally. I'm picking up on what you're putting down, MBD. Well, let's keep moving along with this grading trail because it's going to get a little bit more difficult here. Now, talking about Gregory Soto, I'm going to go in first. Soto had that. It's very.
They gave up a lot.
He gave up a lot. A 4.62 ERA this regular season, 114 WHIP. In Eugene Krabs, you'll enjoy this. 69 games played. I just said that for you because I know you would enjoy that. 65 strikeouts. Postseason, a 6 ERA in the 5 games that Soto was out there for the postseason, and a 2.33 WHIP. Now, I'm actually feeling a little too generous with my grading. I feel like I could have gone a little bit lower, but I'm going to go a C for Soto. But honestly, could have been a C minus, but I'm going to go like a solid 73, 74, I think, if that's still in C range. So
I'm right there with you. I went C plus on Gregory Soto. And the reason, I think they had higher hopes for Gregory Soto. When you give up Vierling and Nick Maton for a guy that throws gas, I think you hope for a little bit more. I don't think he was able to give it to you. But this is a guy, hopefully now, in the system with the pitching coaches and Clearwater can right the ship a little bit for next year. Again, he's a hard-throwing righty, and it seemed like the Phillies' MO this offseason was get as many flamethrowers as they could, and hopefully he bounces back, but the best I can go is C+.
Yeah, I went C- on it. He was one of the bigger moves made in the offseason. My expectations were just way out of pocket. And he couldn't go to him at all. So I have that recency bias. I was like, Miss Honey with Sir Anthony for the injury. But like this guy, I'll just clobber him. C-, maybe even a D.
Yeah, I could be talked into a D.
I was thinking that too.
Tyler, what do you got?
Guys, I love and respect each and every one of you, and so I'm going to say this very nicely. Nick Maton blows. He's an awful baseball player. He hit 160 for a bad Tigers team this year. Matt Vierling, I can get behind. Matt
Vierling was a great bench player, a versatile player,
a solid fourth bench player who can play all three
Vierling
outfield
was the actual
positions.
piece in that trade,
correct?
Not Nick Maton.
So to me, you gave up a fourth outfielder and a bench piece for a guy that you had high hopes for it. And I think statistically speaking, another guy who probably had a down year. The 4.6 ERA is not high. 65 Ks and 60 in the third innings pitched is something that I do take some solace in. The fact that he does have swing and miss stuff, much like Dominguez, just a little bit of command issues this year. But the one thing that I look at, and this is where the real stat nerd comes out in me, is a 265 BABIP. For anyone that doesn't know that stat, it's batting average against balls in play, which basically eliminates strikeouts from the equation. That's much lower than I anticipated it being, considering the fact that it was a 4.62 ERA, which means that he wasn't giving up nearly as many hits as anticipated this season. So I think Gregory Soto's season was actually, if we're going to look back on it and take away the ERA specifically, was a better year than we maybe thought that it was. It's not great. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he was awesome, but I think he was a C+ pitcher this year.
Me and you locked in at C+.
Yeah.
Woo.
I thought you were going to come in with like a D or something, the way you started that off. But
MBD says, I hope he misses his daughter's wedding day.
I saw that. I was going to read that.
That was
so mean.
Sports hate right there.
Oh,
That's too far. Way too far.
brutal stuff.
Jeez Louise, MBD. All right. Well, we've got 5 guys left, and time is ticking here. So you guys are on the clock for your responses here. We're going to go with Matt Stromboli. I gave Strom a solid A- because I like what Matt Strom brought to the mound, and I like the fact that Matt was also in those 10 starts. That I know we're not talking about the starts, but you look at the whole season and the way that Matt Strom was able to be put into different positions, did well, had a fantastic season, in my opinion, with that 102 WHIP, 3.29 ERA. Postseason was steady, a 94 WHIP in the 7 games played, 5 strikeouts and 5 in the third innings, and I just thought Matt Strom was someone that you didn't hold your breath and cringe when you saw Strom coming out. So I'm gonna go with an A-.
I went with an A. He's got another year here. He was signed to a 2-year, $15 million deal. I liked Matt Strom, and he became one of your higher leverage guys in the playoffs and kind of exceeded any expectation I had for him. I think he's got onions on the mound, and I'm Team Stromboli. I'm excited for another year of him. I think he's reliable.
Yeah, he was there when it mattered the most. A- from me as well. in the A's.
Yes.
Look at this, all 3 A's, Tyler.
Yeah, I'm going to continue the trend. I thought Matt Strahm was good as a starter. I thought he was really good as a relief pitcher. 2.82 ERA, and quite frankly, I think the one knock on Matt Strahm is not his fault. I think the knock on Matt Strahm was far too frequently this season did Rob Thompson try to stretch him for a second inning when it wasn't necessary. Other than that, I thought his first inning appearances for most of the year and into the playoffs were really good. He gave up no earned runs over the course of 7 appearances in the playoffs, faced 20 batters, struck out 5, had that huge high leverage 9th inning against the Braves in the NLDS to close things out. He was really, really good as a relief pitcher this year. Super excited that he's back. It's only 7 and some change on the final year of his deal. I wouldn't be surprised if they get something done midway through the season to extend him if he pitches well again.
How old is he?
I thought he was good as a starter. I thought he was really good as a relief pitcher. I'm going A- as well.
Yeah.
He's 31, so yeah, you might be able to get another 2 or 3 years out of him.
Yeah. They Mickey, you're saying they overpitched the poor kid. Our next guy is someone else that I feel like got overpitched and put into some situations that he shouldn't have been, and that's Orion Kirkering. Captain Kirk, as we know, made his Major League Baseball debut September 24th. It was historic after being drafted the year prior that you get called up to the majors. Rob had all this confidence in him, put him into the big situations. But I'm not going first in my grade. Jamie, you are. What do you think?
Orion, I wanted to give an A, but I watched the playoffs, and that drops him down to a B+. It was a lot for him to come up, to go from low A to double A to triple A to the major leagues to the NLCS. The ascension is unprecedented. I think it's only been done by one Philly ever. It's just not something that's normal. So I kind of grade him a little bit on a curve here because that sweeper pitch that he throws at like 93 miles an hour and then the gas on top of it, I think this kid they're counting on to be, a stalwart of the 8th and 9th innings going forward here in the next couple of years. So I give him a B+ because of how optimistic I am for the future with him. Obviously, he was kind of above his head in the playoffs there a little bit. And plus, he's got a really cool slogan. Where what does he say? Don't be a bitch. Yeah. Fuck them hitters. And then don't be a bitch again or something like that. Yeah. So I like the mentality of the kid. His stuff is pretty nasty, and I think a B+ is pretty fair.
Okay. What about you, Phil?
Yeah, most of his woes were not on him. I'm not going to let him fully off the hook. B+, and he will be great for years to come for sure.
Yeah, I think he's really exciting for the future. But obviously NLCS ate him up.
Yeah, I know you guys are saying he gets an incomplete. There's not enough to grade him on. Look, if we can grade some other guys, Nick, Connor, whoever, we can grade Orion too. Orion, as we know, it's the fastball. That's what we're looking for. His slider, he's impressed in his rise from low A all the way to the majors. But I gave Orion a B, and it's, as you were talking about, Phil, it's not all on him. I do feel like having him back to back after having a really bad showing Game 3 of the NLCS was set up to fail in Game 4. But overall, looking at the few games he got at the end of the regular season, the postseason, that's what put me at a B. There's definitely room for improvement. There's a lot that he has to work on. He's young. He will get there. And I'm encouraged for what his future looks like. But I'm absolutely with there's no Tyler, there's only Zuli. He did start out as like an A- for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the playoffs, it felt like Orion, it was kind of like the honeymoon phase was over, and we saw Orion, the youth, the inexperience really come out to play. And I'm grading him just like everybody else because it doesn't matter what his journey was to the mound. He was on the mound, and he's a B.
Hey,
how about you, Tyler?
Will, in the comment section, this is our buddy Phil from Philthy and Philly, who was wondering who the new guy is. Anyway, Tyler, what do you got?
Yeah, I think incomplete's probably fair, but if we are definitely giving a letter grade to it, I would give it a C+, and the reason is because it's just statistically not enough for me to go any higher.
Barbara Carroll says an incomplete, which is almost fair.
The grade that I would like to give his future is an A because I think he's got a wipeout slider and he's not afraid to challenge hitters. Sweeper.
I was going to say, what are we calling it? A slider?
JT
called it a sweeper.
It's just the Orion
JT called
pitch.
it a sweeper. That's what I'm calling it.
My bad. All right, sweeper on 50 of 60 regular season pitch, 51 of 60 regular season pitches this year. It's an incredible ascension, like you guys talked about. I give the kid a lot of credit. He's got moxie, he's got heart, and he's not afraid to challenge any kind of hitter. I'd love to see what he can do over the course of a full regular season. My assumption is that he is going to be on the opening day roster next year.
I think so.
As a 7th inning type of guy, along with Matt Strom in that area. The C+ only because of the fact that I didn't see enough from him to give him a better grade, but it's not his fault.
So a C+ because you need to see more. There you go.
Yeah, pretty wild. He was a 5th round
Barbara.
pick just a year ago.
Hi, Mom.
I know. I'm like, everything. Hi, Phil. And it is funny because we do, really quick side note, we have a lot of doppelgangers here for whatever reason. Like, everybody's got a twin. Like, I say Tyler looks like Trey. Everybody's got a twin. And you and Zach are apparently a little bit of some doppelganger-ish types of vibes. But yeah, I agree, and I know everyone's saying the same thing about Orion. Just not enough to go off of. Next year, we'll be excited to see him get a full off season, full spring training, full time in the majors to see what he can do, and we definitely have high expectations for him. Somebody else that we have high expectations for, but more because we love his story and his journey and the fact that he's a Philly after just being so great. Jeff Hoffman. I love Jeff Hoffman's story. I'm going to go first. I gave Jeff an A-. I love the fact that this is a guy that was bought in as a AAA arm just to help Harper get some hits in, made the most of his time. He was saying that was, to me, my World Series, and he crushed it from there. And, moving forward, Jeff Hoffman was exactly what you wanted from him. He was solid in the regular season, in the postseason. I loved everything that Jeff Hoffman was able to bring to the Phillies. 2.41 ERA, 92 WHIP when you look at his performances. So Jeff Hoffman to me is a steady A- and someone that I'm excited for to see what he looks like moving forward with the Phillies.
Yeah, I gave him an A as well. I think he pitched your way into being one of your 2 most reliable guys. He kind of just answered the bell all year long, and I think Jeff Hoffman was awesome. He had the contract from Japan in his hand, and he almost didn't even come here because Japan was offering him more money, but he bet on himself, came here. He's going to be a free agent, and he's probably played himself into that $8 to $11 million range for a relief pitcher. And I feel fully comfortable giving John Middleton's $10 million to Jeff Hoffman next year to be another part of this pen. So I'm pretty content with an A.
I'm going to sound like a homer. I'm going to give him an A+. He exceeded expectations. We talk about the expectation word with Soto and those guys. He's in those high leverage spots. A+, baby.
How do you guys feel about going forward before we get to Tyler? Because MBD just said, I don't know if I trust him moving forward. He could be lightning in a bottle, but his stuff looked pretty nasty.
I feel like I've seen enough from him, especially in, big situations where I have faith in Hoffman moving forward. I also have faith in the fact that I've got some proposals in the chat. Thank you, Eugene and MBD, for the compliments that I look like Lisa Leslie. Tyler, I'll go to you off of that.
I'm really happy that, Jamie, you're willing to spend other people's money.
Yeah.
We love that. We love that.
I've always said, John Middleton, go broke running the Phillies. Please.
Do what
Spend
you
every
gotta
cent
do.
you got. I don't care.
So do you guys know, have you ever seen in a workplace environment where you have a really good employee and the only thing the really good employee gets is more work and expectations, and the really bad employee gets praised when they do something well? Jeff Hoffman comes into B's situation because we had no expectations for him. And because of that, I think his overall evaluation is, I'm agreeing with Phil, and maybe this is a homer. It's an A+ performance for me. I expected nothing from Jeff Hoffman. I expected innings eaten, and he gave you so much more than that. There's a 2.4 ERA over the course of 54 appearances. And he was a guy that you ascended from like a 6th inning guy to a 7th inning guy to a setup guy to the point where you guys were talking about it when you needed a right-handed arm.
He was it.
It wasn't Sir Anthony Dominguez this year. You had high expectations for him. It wasn't Craig Kimbrel at points towards the end of the season. You had high expectations for him. Jeff Hoffman exceeded everything that we could have ever expected. A career high in WHIP, career high in strikeouts per walk. When you ask, do you think it's repeatable? I have no idea because relievers are fluid. Like I could not tell you. Like Jose Alvarado could suck next year. I don't think he does, but it's always possible because that's just how relievers work. Would I bet my money on bringing Jeff Hoffman back, or in your case, Dave Dombrowski's money? I would.
Yeah.
And I think that he excelled and exceeded every expectation I could have put in front of him. A+, Jeff Hoffman.
Well, you know who else will exceed expectation?
I
It's
almost
Hero
took
Bread.
that one. That was I felt the transition too.
Oh my gosh, no way. We're here. So Hero Bread is great because they provide you with delicious, nutritious options for bread, tortillas, rolls, whatever sandwiches you're looking to make, you can go over to Hero Bread and you can use the code. Actually, you shop now at hero.co. Use that code PHLY, get 10% off. And it's going to be fantastic. I tasted their tortillas as well as their bread. It's fluffy, it's tasty, it's flavorful, and also high fiber, ultra low net carbs, 0 grams sugar per slice, and allows you to eat well and eat healthy at the same time, which we love to do. So sliced bread, buns, tortillas, all available at hero.co as well as Amazon. And you can use that code PHLY to get 10% off. All right, let's get into, as we're talking about heroes, we've got a hero in Jose. I love Jose Alvarado, but I still can't give him an A+. I'm going to go with an A- for Jose. I do think that Jose, 33 total batters faced in the postseason, 8 inherited runners scored. Jose had a lot that he was our steady closer, reliever. Wherever you needed Jose, he plugged him in, he was fine. But unfortunately, I still remember in the postseason, Jose, just some moments that were a little bit off and costly. So I can't go A+ because I'm no Miss Honey, and I definitely wasn't close to an A. But I think that 1.74 ERA absolutely puts him into an A category and is one of my favorites to take the mound for the Phillies.
Yeah, I was real close to an A- or an A-, I should say. I went with a B+ just because I think there was a little bit of ups and downs. Another guy that dealt with a little bit of an injury this year. But I think he's your closer going forward. I love Jose Alvarado. The friendship bracelets. He's clearly a good locker room guy. He's got nasty stuff.
He brings the tequila and Don Julio.
I went B+, but I could be talked into an A- easily. I really like Jose Alvarado.
I'm giving him another homer A+.
Nice.
He's the guy that went from making me feel like heart attack Hector Neris to like, hey, I can go get a beer in the kitchen when he's in.
Yeah.
Don't even have to watch. Lights out.
I like that. That's a good reasoning because you feel comfortable enough to go get a beer and you know what Jose is going to do. Tyler, are you that comfortable too?
I've been comfortable with Jose Alvarado for quite some time now. And I see a lot of people in the chat that are saying, he still makes you nervous when he goes out there because there is a chance that at any point that command loses itself. But over the last couple of years, he's been basically since the demotion to the minors and being brought back up midway through last year, he's been the Phillies' best reliever over the last 2 seasons. A 1.16 whip for a guy with that small of a sample size in innings pitched is pretty darn impressive. Almost 14 strikeouts per 9. And the thing that gives me the most joy out of watching Jose Alvarado pitch this year is he pitches with a purpose. He's that 3.56 strikeout to walk ratio is his career best, but I don't even care about statistically speaking. When I look at him and I watch him and he throws that cutter on the inner half and he throws the sinker up at the hands or down at the feet, it's back like it's pitching with a purpose, right? And instead of him just throwing the cutter, he's throwing it off the back foot to get guys to break their bat and drive themselves into the ground. When he's throwing that high fastball, it's not just, I'm going to throw this as hard as I possibly can. There's purpose to those pitches. He's become a pitcher. At the beginning of his career, he was a thrower.
Yeah.
And he's become a pitcher over the course of the last 2 seasons specifically. He gets an A for me, strictly because the expectations for me were there and he meets them. But Renee, I do have to ask if you don't mind. Do you have to have like a Bob Gibson type year to get an A+? Like what do you have to do to get an A+ in this game?
Well, it's very simple.
Mrs. Turnbuckle
I can
over
be
here.
easily bought. No, I'm just kidding. No, I just feel like an A+ for a whole year. That to me is like you're perfect, and nobody was. Everybody had a drop off at some point. Everybody at some point, and unfortunately, what usually is the difference is when that drop off happens. You're human. You're not going to be perfect throughout the entire season. You're going to have a bad day, just like we have bad days at work. Also, I know Tyler, we've talked about that, but I think it's the timing of it. It's the consistency of how you're able to work yourself through those ruts. So I'm not that bad. I just feel like an A+ for an entire year. That's a lot of games we're talking about. It's hard to do.
What's an A+ for an entire year though, Renee? Shady Rays. Because right now they're offering a great deal. All purchases of 2 or more polarized sunglasses can get for 50% off. Just buy them now and put them away for the holidays. I'm telling you, you'll be thanking yourself come late December. Gear up for the season ahead with quality shades that are built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades and quick swap snow goggles that won't break the bank. I can't wait to get mine. I got the Timber polarized ones coming, and I can't wait. My cousin's had them forever. He's been telling me about them. Damaged or lost, they'll replace them, no questions asked. They got the best deal going in retail. That's not all. They're an independent sunglass company with an unrivaled product. And again, they will replace broken or lost sunglasses. If you lose or break a pair, even day one, they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Shady Rays is also committed to making a difference in communities across the U.S. through their Impact program, teaming up with nonprofits to help people live healthy, courageous lives through some of their most challenging times. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out that amazing deal we just mentioned. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Well, as we wrap up, I'm
real anxious to see what everybody gives this guy.
This conversation about Craig Kimbrel could have been an entire hour long. I know you guys are saying, Barbara, I agree with you. An A+ would have been winning the World Series. If Wheeler can't get an A+, nobody can, in my opinion. Nope, nobody can. Nobody was an A+ because we're sitting here talking about the postseason, recapping the season, and the World Series is being played. So nobody gets an A+ for that reason alone.
Tough grader.
Oh yeah. So it's time. I think Liam Castellanos might be the only one that can get an A+. Wow. He was consistent. He was steady. He was always there.
The Riz God.
He's a vibe.
But
he's a vibe.
It's time to finally get into Craig Kimbrel, guys. Ooh. It's time. We've been teetering around it. We've talked about everybody else in the bullpen. I don't even know who wants to go first. Please drop in the chat what you are grading Craig Kimbrel.
Craig Kimbrel.
You can throw me out to the wolves.
All right, Phil, I'll let you go then. You're ready. Go ahead. You got this.
I gave him a B+. He was an all-star. And he's going to be tarnished by the blown playoff games and things like that. But
no doubt about that.
It's not fair. He was in like 70-something games. It's not his usage. He was cooked. It's not all on him. B+. Mm-hmm. He's a Phillies all-star. One of 2, 3 all-stars.
Yeah. Him and Nick. Well.
Do you want me to go or do you want to
take it away?
Go ahead, Jamie. I feel like you're teeing something up.
I agree with Phil a lot that he was used too much. It was the second highest inning total of his career. He's getting older. I just don't think you can pitch him that many innings and expect him to be great all the time. I gave him a C+. That's because I think for the first 3 or 4 months of the year, you could have made the case that he was the team MVP. Like, he kept you in games. So because of that, it was a bad, couple months. So for the Phillies in general, and he was kind of one of the bright spots. That many innings pitched, I think it's just a formula for disaster. A career high. He tied a career high. And what's everybody laughing at here? Did somebody say something funny?
The chat is roasting. Yeah,
B+.
They're not happy with Phil.
It was on purpose.
I think a C+ is fair because of how good he was for a large part of the season. Come the playoffs, I blame Rob Thompson almost more than I do Craig Kimbrel because I just don't know how you can pitch a guy at age, 34 or 35, the second most innings of his career, and expect great results all the time.
You guys are way too nice.
All right, Mrs. Turnbuckle.
You guys are way too nice. I'm with you guys in the chat. We're here.
All right, what do you got?
Because I could not give him anything over a C. In fact, I gave him a D+.
Oh,
a D+. And you know why? We talked about being one of the only all-stars on the team and carrying the team. What happens when we got to the postseason and Craig was needed more? Somebody called him Mr. Chicken Wing. I actually like that's kind of funny.
Yeah, but Rob Thompson should have known he was cooked.
He should have known he was cooked, but Game 3 was also bad. It wasn't just Game 4.
The Atlanta series was even nerve-wracking.
He did play a lot of games. I agree with you on that. And a lot of innings pitched. Had a 3.26 ERA in the regular season, a 1.04 whip. Gets the postseason with that 6 ERA and a 1.83 whip. And he was awful in the postseason down the stretch when we needed him most. 5 strikeouts, 5 walks, stolen bases. Gave up 4 runs. He was horrifying to watch and so frustrating because everything we talked about in September when we said Craig Kimbrel needs to be more aware, needs to be aware of stolen bases, pitch clock, everything that we talked about was exactly what came back to bite Craig Kimbrel when it hurt the most.
Yeah.
So I can't stand it because also the fact Craig Kimbrel had the audacity to say, I know I'm not great with the pitch clock. That's just how I pitch. That's just me summarizing. It's not exactly what he said word for word.
No, he refused to even
he
acknowledge
refused to change
it.
and acknowledge it and
Or
change
base
it.
runners.
And then what does Corbin Carroll do? What did the Diamondbacks do? They're able to steal bases on him. So I'm frustrated with him, not just for his, okay, you want to say he was overused and had nothing and whatever. Excusable, not, because in my grading rubric, it's clutchness, and when we needed you to be clutch, Craig, you were terrible. D+, and it could have been even worse. That's me being kind.
All right, so we've gone from B+ to C+ to D+.
Are you going F+, Tyler?
Where are you at, Tyler?
Can I ask you guys a question? We've done this now for 3 days. I think I've done this fairly objectively over the last 3 days, right? Like, I've been pretty statistically driven, all that kind of stuff. And so I think that I've been pretty fair on these guys.
Oh, boy.
With that being said, screw this dude. And it's not even statistically, it's not even like a stats thing, because, like, yes, he was an all-star, and yes, he was good for a bulk of the season, and 23 saves is
but
more.
You can't discredit that.
No,
you can, though, in a sense.
Let me get to it.
Sorry.
Like, the numbers are good. He was good for a bulk of the year. The earned runs and home runs were high, right? Like, and it was a career high, and I get that. But what bugs the hell out of me is exactly, Renee, what you just brought up. A refusal to change is a damnation to fail. Like, this guy refuses to take a look at the pitch clock. This guy refuses to change his cadence and take a second look at a runner. And you're right, Corbin Carroll ran all over him. And I partially blame that on JT, but I primarily blame that on Craig Kimbrel. This guy irked me to no end in the postseason. I blame Rob Thompson for his failures. I blame his inability or unwillingness to change in big spots. This guy drove me nuts in the second half of the year. Great first half. Thanks for being an all-star. See ya. Can't wait to call you former Philly Craig Kimbrel.
What's the grade?
D
plus.
for...
because he's an all-star and because the numbers statistically are solid, D+. But my heart, I'm going with my heart here and not my head. This guy, be gone. Go away forever.
Well, he will be gone. You don't have to worry about him in the future. I thought I was pretty fair with the C+, but apparently it wasn't good
because
enough.
Go away.
D for good luck, goodbye. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
If you remove those couple of appearances where he went back to back, what grade would you give him?
Still a D+. No, maybe a C-.
The numbers are good.
Here's the thing. We're sitting here talking about the 2023 season in big part because of Craig Kimbrel. Yes, Rob should not have put him in that position. I agree with you. It's not all his fault, but he's the one that's at the mound. And like Tyler was saying, we've talked about it before, the inability to look, the inability to be aware, the inability to make changes, frustrating. And a big reason why we are not in the World Series is Craig Kimbrel. That's why you are D+. If you can give Garrett Stubbs an F for a comment, how can you not give Craig Kimbrel a D+ for what he actually did in the game?
He was C+. He was really good.
Jamie literally said Garrett Stubbs was an F because he gave the Diamondbacks chalkboard material, but you won't give Craig Kimbrel.
You're a player that doesn't contribute to the game. You should keep your mouth shut.
He was actually in the game doing nothing. D for doing nothing. D for damn it, why is he out there? D for see ya, out of here. So yeah, we've got more grades. Of course, we are running out of time here. We are out of time here. We've got more grades coming up. Are you guys feeling good about your grades?
We'll continue the Craig Kimbrel conversation tomorrow.
We will, because I just...
It's a fascinating one.
It's interesting that you guys give him a C+ and a B. I'm B+ at that. Oh my gosh.
I think a C+ is fair. I think there's a little recency bias in your two's grading. Emotional.
It was a miss, honey. He was cooked. I felt bad for him.
It's like
he was getting thrown out there getting rocked.
Let's keep with the school metaphor. If you are great in the first and second marking period, and in the third and fourth marking period, you're awful on your exams, you are terrible on your exams, you're not going to get a B or a C. You're probably getting a C-, D+. You can't be good for just half the season, especially when you're in the postseason stinking it up. So yeah, we've got more to get into because we're a little on different pages here, especially with Craig
Kimbrel, and then we'll get into the outfield tomorrow.
Bingo. So more to come here on PHLY Phillies podcast for our guest, Phil Nappen. Thank you so much for joining us. You guys, make sure you check out Philthy in Philly on everything, especially Instagram and Facebook. You do a tremendous job with the content you're pumping out. You're 5 for 5 with all your content, covering all the sports in Philly.
All of them.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a long journey, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, make sure you give Philthy and Philly a follow. Give us a follow as well so you can keep up to date because we've got more grades to hand out, unfortunately, because we are in the off season now for the Phillies. Thank you, Craig. So more grades to give out, more to talk about. Who do we have next? The outfield's going to be tomorrow, and then we're going to get into coaching and management on Friday as well as we wrap things up. So make sure you're following. Stay tuned for more. Have a great rest of your day. Hopefully you're off to a great start to November, and we'll see you guys next time.